Hey everyone, good morning. Thank you for joining us on Realty Check. I'm your host, Trish Williams. And today, back by popular demand, we have Julie Connell with us. We're going to talk about what everyone always asks me about is how to get started in a new career in real estate. So for the next 4 weeks, we're going to have a four-part series. And the series is going to be talking about what to do, your first steps to a new real estate career, a popular topic. And before we get into, how to meet people, how to sell houses, how to do all of these other things, very important to find out what's the very first step of how to get your license. Yes. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Julie Connell is with Keller Williams Realty. She's the productivity coach. You may have seen her on our previous show where we talked about coaching first-year real estate agents. Yep. And she is also the host of our career nights in the office. And in career night, she teaches people how to get started in a career, what to do, how to get licensed, what all of those step-by-step things are. And we are bringing that to you today. We have some slides for you. Anything that we have on this show today, if you want us to send you a copy of the slides or get more information, please call myself or Julie, reach out to us directly, and we can provide you any information that you need.
Sure, okay. Absolutely.
Yes, Julie, thank you for being here.
Yeah, no, it was fun the first time. So
it was.
Yeah, today we have a whole bunch of things we're going to cover as far as, that first step into a new career in real estate.
Right, and today's show is like jam-packed, so we have a lot of information for you guys today. Take notes. Grab your notepads. You're gonna really like to write this stuff down.
Sure.
So when we go to the very, very first step, if I just woke up today and said, I want to become a realtor, because that's how it happens, right?
Sometimes, yeah.
So what is the first thing that we do?
Well, first of all, you have to think about, obviously, where you're going to go to school, right? Because there is a requirement, the real estate division requires that you have at least 90 hours of schooling, and there are some courses that are less than 90 hours because they kind of break it up a little bit between live classroom training and online training. But all told, the real estate schools have to be approved by the real estate division. So I would Google approved real estate schools in Nevada to find out which schools that you should be contacting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to real estate schools, online, in person, you can do schooling online?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you could do self-paced. Where you can do it at night after work when the kids go to bed, when whatever your situation is.
Okay.
Or you could do it in a live classroom. And of course, with COVID, things have changed a little bit. I know that they have Zoom available, obviously, for classroom type training. They might have a hybrid where you do, some of it in the classroom, and they have, of course, limited seating because of the spacing requirements, but they definitely have options where you can go to a room with an instructor or a Zoom room with an instructor. I would recommend that option, honestly, because there's so many things that come out of a teacher in a classroom that you don't get in a pre-recorded slide. So if you have the option, take the live option if you can.
Right, and it's great for when I did real estate school. I had the I did a kind of a hybrid. Yeah. I did it online, but then I did some live classes on the weekends. Oh, okay. And I did like having someone to talk to ask questions, because there's certain things that they're just not self-explanatory.
Not at all. And I was an instructor for pre-licensing for 4.5 years. So I used to tell stories about things. So to help students connect the dots, because there's a lot of vocabulary, there's a lot of real estate, let's say math. There's a lot of things to know about financing, and if you have an instructor, especially someone who's got experience in the real estate sales industry, you're going to get a lot of really good examples that are going to help you get through that test.
Right. And I'm a firm believer that storytelling in real estate is so great in helping you understand so many things in real estate, because you can relate to a story more than you can relate to terms that you've never heard of before.
Exactly.
So they're very good at explaining that. So after you select a school, one of the things that I hear that you always recommend is that go get your fingerprints right away, because that's a requirement for licensing. And why do you tell people to get that right at the time they sign up for school?
Well, the thing is, it takes so many weeks for that background check to come back. So if you're thinking about jumping into a real estate career, you already know you've got a couple of weeks, if not a couple of months, depending on your schedule and how quickly you can learn the material. You could be 2 months, 3 months waiting for the school to be over, for you to pass all your exams, et cetera. So the fingerprints, if you jump on that right away, they'll be waiting for you. Those results will be waiting for your application at the real estate division. So that'll speed up the process a little bit.
Absolutely.
It takes like 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, and I've heard that there's been delays, or there has been delays in the past, and I've literally known people that have finished the schooling and can't get started because they're waiting on the fingerprints.
Exactly. They're waiting weeks, and they're just sitting there, and they've passed their tests, and it's frustrating because you want to jump right in once you pass.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that is a very good tip you get. Once you so you have to complete your 90 hours training.
Correct.
And then you schedule your exam.
Right. Now, there's a testing center called Pearson VUE that has been approved again by the real estate division to administer the test. So they have nothing to do with the real estate industry. They're just a testing center.
Yeah.
And right now, because of COVID, they have to split up the rooms and make them less people in the room. And they're testing for all kinds of things, not just real estate. So
insurance,
everything,
yeah.
right? Like whatever you need a license for, likely you might have to go to Pearson VUE to get tests.
Yeah.
So if you jump on scheduling the exam right when you start school, you could actually schedule that exam out 2-3 months.
Okay.
Right. Well, right now there's a delay because of COVID. There's a long delay. So in the past, you used to be able to, maybe 2 weeks out, you would get an exam date. Now it's more like 1 to 2 months out.
Oh my goodness.
Right. So if you were to register for school today and have a plan to get through school in, let's say, 4 weeks, if you waited 4 weeks to schedule your exam, you'd probably wait till about April to get your test.
Oh my goodness. You know, one thing that on the exam, someone asked me recently, they were like, oh, you know, the test at the end of each chapter of school are so easy. Is that what the exam's like? And I'm like, well, you know, you have no notes. They will take everything from you when you go in there.
Correct.
I heard they don't even do scratch paper anymore. When I did it, they gave you like a little sheet of scratch paper. You could write down whatever's in your brain right before you start the test, but they don't do that anymore either.
No. It's kind of like going through TSA. Like, they literally pat you down. Like, they don't want to see you bring cheat sheets in. They don't want, obviously, no cell phones. They literally, make you turn your pockets inside out to make sure there's nothing in there. So, yeah, you have to go in with whatever's in your head. And if you're going to finish school and need to wait 2 months to get a test, you're going to forget a lot of things.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I recommend to a lot of people to either purchase or make your own flashcards and drill yourself.
Right. Like, part of, we're going to talk about the cost. We'll summarize up some of the costs at the end, but they sell those things either online or at whatever school you go to. They'll have all the books that you need. So you'll need books for the Nevada state law, and you'll need the national real estate law books to prepare for that exam. And like I said, it could take, some people can literally get through that course in 2 weeks. Others take 6 months or more. It depends on their schedule, honestly, and it depends on how well they retain the information.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yep, most definitely. So after that, you pass your test, you take your exam. We have another slide coming up here. On our next slide, we're going to talk about what to do once you have finished that. Once you've taken your exam, once you're ready to go and get licensed. After that, it's very important that you find a broker. Now, state of Nevada, when you're a first-year licensee, or the first 2 years, actually, until you become a broker, you have to work under a broker. Yeah. And you may never want to become a broker. For me personally, not anything in my goals. I just don't see a broker being something I would like to do. But so you do have to, as being a salesperson, a licensed salesperson, you do have to work under a broker.
Yes, you do. You have to have what they call a sponsoring broker. So it's important, I think, when you pass the test, that's great. You're ready, but you cannot apply for your license until you've met with a broker that you decided is going to be a good fit for you. So we have, obviously there's 1,000 different brokerages, right? There's many to choose from.
And the schools, most of the schools that you go to are going to be owned by brokerages. The one I went to was, and
me too.
you know, one thing for people to understand, which I think is very important, that I didn't understand when I was in school, is I got a call while I was going to school from the broker that says, "Hey, we'd like to interview you." And I was like, "Wow, they see something special in me." So I thought that it was. I thought it was more of an honor that they wanted to talk to me, and I immediately was agreeing to sign up with them. And then somebody told me to interview at least 3.
Yes.
And find out, just weigh out things. And when I did, I was like, oh, no, this one's the one. You know, I thought they were interviewing me. I didn't realize I was interviewing them.
Yeah.
And that's something for you to really understand. They are not interviewing you. It's not like an employee job. You need to interview them.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Just like once you get your license, basically your business comes from generating leads. Well, so do the brokerages. The brokerages make money by generating leads for new agents. And so 3, I think, is a good number. If you start going to 5 or 6, you're going to get confused. But they all have different things that they offer, different value propositions, if you will, right?
Right.
So one of the things that most agents, when they meet with me, they say, I need good training.
Of course.
And the thing that I would caution you is make sure that when you sit down with the broker and they say, oh yeah, we have great training, it's great. Well, how do they prove that? Can they back that up? Can they show you or demonstrate for you why it's great?
Yes.
And the way I do it is I show how many units or transactions have closed in a year divided by the number of agents in the office. And it gives you what's called a per person productivity number, or how many units per person on average that company is closing.
Okay.
There's some companies that are just sheer numbers, volume of agents.
Oh, yeah.
And they have 80% of the agents aren't doing anything.
Yeah, and again, you know, they'll be talking to you about splits and things like that, and you know, there's lots of 100% out there, but you just have to remember, you know, it's great to have a great split, but if you're not making any money, those splits make no difference at all.
Right.
And another thing on training, when people will come to, for instance, our office. When someone's interested in joining our office or finding out more information, I show them our training calendar. Say, look at this. This is what we do every month. We have all of these classes available, and they're free, but for the most part, they're free. And there's been times, too, that I've invited people to come and sit in some of our training classes just to see the value of what we have to offer. And one thing I love about our brokerage as well is that most of our classes are taught by agents.
They are.
Yeah, they're
that's
taught
really
by agents that are out in the field, and in most cases, very high producing agents, which is really who you want to learn from.
Well, that's what Keller Williams culture is really all about. It's about agents helping agents, and I found that really impressive when I came to Keller Williams as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had I knew nothing in the beginning, and I had these amazing rock star agents that were saying, "Oh, do this and do that." I was like, "Wow, this is valuable."
It is really, truly. And we had, an agent in our office who closed 333 units last year. He's obviously a top listing agent. Show us his listing presentation.
Yeah. Yeah, amazing value. So amazing things to learn from.
Yeah.
So training and support is great, and then creating a business plan. What would that really entail?
You're going to have some downtime, I think, after you pass the exam while you're waiting for your license. So once you've selected a brokerage, hopefully you've selected a brokerage that's going to work with you on creating that business plan. So you're not on your own, right? So we want to set goals first. So we sit down, we talk about what your goals are. What are you hoping to accomplish both in your life in general? Like, what do you want to spend your money on, and what are you saving for? How much do you need to support your household bills and so on? So we come up with a number, and we're not telling you what it should be. I mean, it's your number, right? So we do that, and then we work backwards from that number to determine how many units you need to close, how many transactions it's going to take for you to hit your goal. So now we can create a business plan. Now that we know what the activity, we surround it with activity. That's going to be lead generation activity, leading to, scheduling appointments, leading to signing contracts.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And Julie, just real quick, you have a text code that people can text for information
yes.
if they're watching or listening right now. They need to text. They can text you a phone number to download some of the information we're talking about.
Right. So there should be a number on the screen that says text the word guide, G-U-I-D-E, guide. It's a study guide.
Okay.
So I put this together when I was an instructor, and it's basically single sheets at a glance that'll help you study for the exam.
Okay.
It's not everything you need to know, but it's certainly some of the things that are really important to know for the test.
Okay.
I also have the Pearson View guide in there that will give you the instructions on how to register for that exam and to, steps to schedule it and so on.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And if you're listening and you're not watching the show and you don't see the number, you just text the word guide to area code 888-986-0648. That's guide 888-986-0648.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
No, that's great. and honestly, I also actually included in that guide a link to our previous podcast that we did on coaching.
Oh,
so that's
great.
in there too. Yeah. So you can, if you like this podcast and you want to see more about once you get your license, what does coaching involve and why is coaching important? You can watch the link that is included in that guide that I send out.
Okay, great. So you're starting out, you've created your business plan, and your business plan is so important because it's basically showing you what you need to do.
The step by step.
Yeah, how many appointments do you need? How many contracts are you have to have goals. If you don't have goals, you're just running around aimlessly.
Yeah.
So the next step is organizing your database. Now,
it's a lot of work.
database is basically who are we going to contact? When you get into real estate, so funny because when I went to real estate school, and even after school, I didn't even realize how it works. I just thought I got a license. Now people just call me to buy houses. I just thought that that's how it worked.
No.
So it doesn't. You do have to seek and find business.
Yes.
And in most cases, you will start doing business with people that you already know and work with, or you go out and look for people that you can do business with.
Right.
And all of that information is kept in a database. Now, at Keller Williams, the part of the Keller Williams package that you get is the database that's not billed, but it's the system that you can organize. It's called Command.
Correct.
It's actually a very valuable system because I paid for that separately, and it's very costly when you purchase one of those services. So the fact that they offer it to us is really valuable to me.
Right. So we're going to get, in the very beginning of your early days of when you're waiting for your license, we'll have you start entering phone numbers, contact names, contacting those people to let them know that you passed your test, that you're waiting for your license, and try to collect more information. The best, obviously, is phone number, email, and home address. And with that information now, we have various ways we can follow up with them. And so we'll put a plan together to basically stay in front of those people over your entire career. We call that top of mind awareness.
Right.
Right. So we want to generate that so that when people think of real estate, they think of you.
Right. And on this whole note, one thing that I when I was thinking about today's show, I wanted to make sure that I threw this in there because I think it's a mistake that I see most often. I'm not sure if you run across this, but I see it a lot, is where people, right when they get into real estate, they will spend excessive amounts of money on their photos, their headshots, their which are necessary, of course. But their signs, they'll purchase all these signs, they'll do all this stuff, and it can add up to thousands of dollars upfront fees.
Right.
I think it's more important to focus your time and energy on adding people to that database and who you're going to work with. Getting, your first business card will probably change. So don't spend a month creating this amazing business card, which you see people do that, right?
Yes.
I see people do that all the time, and they're beautiful. But when you're operating in the business, that's, it's great to have business cards, yes, but you'll see that it's not the end all be all of how you're creating business. So focus more time and energy into building that database than creating marketing. You can get for sale signs. There's companies out there that will create a sign for you when you have a listing and you need it.
Yeah.
And you have options when it comes to that. Don't go out and spend a fortune on, ordering 20 signs and ordering all these things that you think you need. You definitely need to start your career on a budget, not spending a lot of money or going broke, because it'll take a while for you to make some money, and really focus on building that database first.
Yeah. Absolutely. You need to earn money before you spend too much.
Yeah.
We definitely want to keep the costs in mind.
Yes. So on our next slide, we're going to talk about once once the license is issued.
Yes.
So once your license is issued, what do you do? What can you begin doing?
Well, obviously now you can do things. You can do open houses. You can show homes. Before you can show homes, though, you have to join the MLS, which is the Multiple Listing Service. Right?
Las Vegas
Association of Realtors.
LVR, Las Vegas Realtors, they're called now.
Exactly.
Yep.
And there's the National Association of Realtors that is required that we belong to, so you'll become a Realtor. Those things all combined are probably the biggest chunk of money that you're going to spend that first year.
Yeah. I didn't realize this. Also, it was something that was not taught to me in school, is that they had basically in school they said that the Association of Realtors, it's kind of like a union. You don't have to join it to be a licensed real estate agent. It's true. Yes, but you can't open a lockbox if you're not. If you don't have MLS access, you're not really going to be able to do much.
Right. So joining those will probably be required within 45 days of you starting at your brokerage. If you do not join the board of realtors within that 45-day period, unfortunately, the brokers are required by law to return your license to the division, and you're out of business until you find another broker and get the money to join. So like I said, those costs could run about $2,000, $2,200 just to join all those various associations and get access to all the active listings and to the lock boxes to open doors.
The lock boxes to open doors. Yeah. So that is probably your biggest startup fee in real estate, but essentially starting any business is costly.
Oh, of course. This is one of the lowest startup costs if you're running a business, but you're also required to get a city and a state business license from whatever city. So if you're working in Las Vegas, you need a City of Las Vegas business license. Those run about $100 a year, and it's every year. And the state of Nevada is a $200 business license, again, renewed every year. And the MLS, you have to rejoin every year. The first year is the most expensive because you're paying a lot of startup fees.
Yeah, and then the MLS, once you complete your first year, they even have payment options for monthly payment plans and things like that too. So some people it works better for them. Some people like to be surprised with the cost and act like it's a brand new fee every year.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's same time every year. We know it's coming, so it's.
I think that knowing what the costs are ahead of time hopefully you'll be able to budget for those costs, and it won't become a surprise.
Yeah.
And a lot of people get stuck on that first big bill and they haven't made any money yet, and now they're trying to catch up on their home, the bills for their home and everything else. So we don't want you to do that. We want you to be prepared. Absolutely.
Reserves are so important. Yes. And starting a career in real estate, you want to make sure that you have at least 3 months reserves. You're not, I've had people talk to me that tell me they want to start in real estate. They need to, close a home within a month. They need a paycheck within a month, or, they just can't move forward. And I unfortunately tell them it's just not realistic expectations. It could happen. Yeah. Not that it couldn't happen, but it's not realistic expectations. It definitely, you want to have at least 3 month reserves to get into the business, to understand that it's going to take some time to make your first transaction, make your first paycheck.
Absolutely.
Yes. So the post-licensing. So once we finish school, that's not the end of it.
Oh, no.
Never. It never ends.
It never ends. That's right.
It never ends. So every year we have to do what's called, post-licensing actually is your first year, right after you get licensed, there's, how many hours is that?
So post-licensing is in your initial year, they call it. So when you first apply for your license, you're paying $125 to the division to get a 1-year license. And in that first 12 months, you need 30 more hours of post-licensing education. And now they're kind of getting a little bit more specific. In pre-licensing, they're teaching you the laws, and they're teaching you terminology and math that's associated with real estate. But in post-licensing, now they're actually teaching you things like how to write a contract, how to write a listing agreement. So it's getting a little bit more detailed. And
that's good.
Yeah, the 30 hours has to be live. Now it's on Zoom, but it usually is live in a classroom. So yeah, 30 hours. And then you get to renew your license 2 years at a time after that.
Yeah, 2 years at a time, and it's, what are we, 24 hours every 2 years?
We're still at 24. I had heard before 2020, I had heard rumors that they were going to bump that number up a little bit, but right now it's 24 hours of continuing education, but you don't take those until after your first year.
After your first year. And those continuing education classes are, you know, like 3-hour increments in most cases. And
yeah, they are.
Yeah, just tell you what you need to know. Things change in real estate all the time. We have to stay on top of it. We have to, and then every 2 years we have to do an ethics, ethics class that just reminds us how important it is to represent people ethically.
Absolutely, yes.
Very important thing in real estate. So on our next slide, and again, please contact us if you want us to email you or send you over these slides that we have, because I know we're just going to pop them up for a minute and run through them. But we talk about the cost and the fees that are associated or that you can expect in getting up and started in real estate. So can you brief us on like what some of those costs will be?
Right. So we mentioned schools at the very beginning. Schools, I went online this morning just to check, and I Googled real estate schools in Nevada, and I saw, I think one was like $79.
I know, they're cheap.
It's really cheap, and that's without books. Okay, so you've got to include. Now, some of them will offer you an ebook. I kind of like having the hard copy book in my hand, so I can write in it and I can fold pages down and yes, exactly.
Fold pages, go back to things. I have a hard time. I guess taking in information that's on
just reading online
on a document all online. Yeah. So I agree with that.
Yeah.
I did my school actually. It's I tell people because I laugh about it all the time. I did real estate school with a Groupon. So
I did too.
Yeah, it was like $120 or something. But it included like a PDF. But I ended up going and purchasing the book. Again, I wanted the hard copy book, and it was. But yeah, the schooling. There's a lot of options there. It really depends on your learning style. You need to know and recognize how you learn and how you intake information, and make sure that you're doing the right schooling for you, because it's $100 every time you take the test, right?
Oh my gosh, yes. So we mentioned Pearson VUE at the beginning of the program. Every time you register and take the exam at Pearson VUE, it's $100, and there's 2 portions to the exam, right? There's the national and the state. If you pass one and don't pass the other, you have to go back, and each time you go back, you don't have to take the one you passed again. That's
good.
A pass, right? But until you pass both portions, you can't get your license, and it's $100 every time you go.
And if it's 2 to 3 months out in between scheduling, oh my gosh, that could take forever.
Right.
So yeah, you definitely want to cram, study, and take as much information as you can. More, the more information, the better. I'm a firm believer in the flashcards. I said that before. I made my own when I was doing it. I just wrote out on these little index cards what I thought was important, what I was struggling with, and I would have people quiz me.
Right.
Yeah.
If we could take a look at the numbers just one more time, I want to just run down the rest of the the prices.
Okay.
So
can we go back to our slide? Oh, there we go.
there we
Okay.
go. So
Thank you.
yeah, so real estate schools run anywhere from as low as $80, $79, $80 with those Groupons that we were talking about.
Okay.
But then you add on the cost of books. So figure $250 is a
Okay.
good number
I think
to
that's a good
start,
number.
like on the low end.
Yeah.
Up to as much as $500. So some of the 90-hour live classrooms are going to charge more because they physically want you in a classroom 90 hours.
And they have to pay an instructor to
Exactly,
be there. Yep,
exactly.
absolutely.
So you're going to be around $250 to $500, give or take, on school and books.
Okay.
Then you're going to have to do your background check. Again, those run $60 to $70. You go, you get your fingerprints done. They send the results directly to the division. The exam, as we mentioned, is $100. Hopefully you only have to take it once, right? And then once you get your license application submitted and you've chosen your broker, it's going to be $125 for
Okay.
that. The biggest nugget, as we said earlier, was joining the Association of Realtors. That includes the MLS, so that's at least $2,200. There's a lot of startup fees in that. So the second year, when you pay for it again, it's not going to be that much. It's probably going to be closer to $1,600.
Yep.
And every year after, right?
Absolutely.
And then Trish mentioned marketing and business cards, and you could get your headshots done and get some really nice business cards and a name tag for like $300. You could have all those, the basic bare minimum things that you need.
Or less.
Or less.
I mean, you can
Yeah.
go Vistaprint and they'll give
That's
you
true.
100 business cards for free or whatnot.
Or
know,
you
I
could
mean,
get
if you-
1,000 cards for $50. Yeah, something cheap.
Your first business card and your first headshot is probably once you get started in business and you realize kind of your market, what you're working with, you're gonna change it. I changed mine so many times in the beginning. You're probably not going to go or want that to be your logo, your image that's out there forever. You're probably going to change it.
Right.
I wouldn't spend a lot of money on that first startup card or even headshot.
No, and the other thing I would suggest too is don't pay for leads right away because those can cost a ton of money.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. So I won't say the website, but it starts with a Z and we all know what it is. But
Yeah.
like those leads are like, I mean, they're very expensive. They will literally have you spinning your wheels. I still to this day do not pay for leads.
Yeah,
I've never built a business on that. I don't want to build a business, especially with that certain website. I don't want to build a business relying on them because I'm not a fan of them.
Sure.
So it's just not my model. I know a lot of very successful realtors that do, and they put a lot of money into those leads every month. It's just not my style. And we're going to talk about that actually in the coming shows over this next 4 weeks. We're going to talk about ways to get leads, ways to find leads. And one of my favorite things personally is how to build leads and a business and a database from social media.
I love that.
So
Yeah, that's great.
that is probably one of the most cost-effective ways to do business. And I feel like it creates more solid business. You're working with people then that want to work with you.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about that. I have a lot of stuff to offer you guys over the next 4 weeks, and I hope that you're enjoying the show. Please, if you're listening to us, give us a review, share the show with your friends, download us on iTunes, and we are always Thursday mornings at 9:30 a.m. Tune in, call us if you have any questions. Text the word guide to the number on the screen to get the cheat sheet, I guess
There
you
you
would
go.
say,
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, a
to get
guide.
started, to get the guide to get started in real estate. And Julie and myself are always happy to answer any questions that you have or to help guide you in the right directions to get started. And we are, Julie has a very strong background in real estate, lots of experience, 20 plus years.
In various business ends of it, yes.
Yes, and myself, I'm only 7 years in the industry, but have become a very successful realtor, one of the top producers in Vegas in this short time, and I'm always happy to share my secrets with you as well. So give me a call, pick my brain. I love it.
It's great.
And we will see you guys next week on Realty Check with Trish Williams. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.